Hello and salutations, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or whenever it is you're joining us. We want to welcome you to our Week 1 preview show hosted by myself, Lee.
Hi, everybody.
And our special guest commentator this year, Laura.
Hi.
Today's show has been brought to you by the letter N for non-winners. Hopefully this year we have a few less tie games and it's all winners and non-winners.
Oh, isn't everybody by default not winning a non-winner? Maybe you should revisit how the season scoring is going to go. We got 3 points for a win, 2 points for a non-played by win, and 1 point for a tie.
Special announcements for everybody. We are 1 week away as of the time of this recording. 2 days away by the time I finally get this thing out to everybody. Be ready. Be prepared. We're going to have a blast on our first game day.
Week 1 will kick things off for us. Of our 32 teams, 10 will not be earning any skill points this week. Everyone else gets 4 skill points to spend. Sorry, Clanners and C3 player networks.
And remember, skill spends need to be in Tuesday after game day by 5 p.m. Email them to the Calgary Battletech League email no later than 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, or your points will be banked for you.
Now, that is out of the way, let's get down to some nitty-gritty in Cowboy City.
Oh, really?
Yep. Calgary Battletech League.
While we'll not be doing this every year, this week we will be mentioning the mechs for each lance as everybody tries to learn their teams, and so that you at home can try to kind of get comfortable with figuring out your favorite team.
Game number 1, we have Todd G and the Odin's Chosen, a free Razzlehog Republic stable, a modified Shadowhawk 5S, Axeman 1N, a Warhammer 6K, and a Marauder 2 6M. Versus Will and his Yogi's Jaggers, fielding a Warden Clan list with a Stormcrow Prime, modified Hellbringer B, a Dire Wolf A, and Flamer Elementals.
I'm going to predict this as going to be Will's start of the season. He is going to take off with the Clanners. How can you not like a Hellbringer and a Dire Wolf in a Lance? I think Todd's in for a quick and brutal education in League. I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-1 for Will.
I am anticipating this to be a 2-0 victory for Will and his Yogi's Jaggers, just because Season 1 is usually a growing season for our newer players.
Well, since my 2 fellow co-hosts have chosen Will, I guess I should maybe go for the underdog. Which, with nobody have played games yet, everybody's an underdog at this point. But I'll go for Todd, and I think it'll be a 2-1.
Game number 2 is Heather and her Blitzkrieg Jezebels, also from the Free Razzlehog Republic. They're fielding Quad Love all day long. We have a Scorpion 10, a modified Barghest 1T, a Hatamoto He 27U, and an Atlas D. They're up against our new player Keenan, fielding the Capellan Laser Force, a Wraith TR1, a Marauder 6L, a Thug 11E, and a modified Stalker 3F.
Another game 1 for a new player. I'm going to have to go with Heather on this one. Probably another low-scoring game, though, as she helps ease a new player into how we do things. 1-0 for the Jezebels.
Hey, don't be typing that in before I even say who I think's going to win.
Come on, you're not going to vote not for your wife.
No, I do. I try to be fair and honest. However, I actually do agree Heather is going to win this one, and the reason why is while Keenan's Capellan Laser Force has a good mixture of weapons, especially with some plasmas in there, Heather's mechs are pretty low heat. The Scorpion 10 has an ERPPC and an SRM 6, but it's got double heat sinks. The Barghest 1T's got a Gauss rifle. At range, she's just going to tap it. The Atlas D, right? It doesn't have to heat up. He's going to play well, but I think Heather's going to win this one, and I'm not thinking it's going to be a low-scoring game. These are big gun mechs. I think it's going to be a 3-1.
Yeah, no pressure, Heather. No pressure. Because I'm voting for her too, but I think it's going to be a 3-2. I know she likes her quad, so bring them out full force.
Just so you guys know, all of you new players, we are basing it off of stuff we already know. So while you guys are definitely capable of winning these games against the experienced players, you do have a learning curve, and we also don't know how well you play, so we have to base it off the people that we know. We are not hating on you. We think you guys have a great opportunity to win. I think it's going to take you a couple of games to get it under your feet, though.
Yeah, I think everybody has that learning curve. I know I did when I first season. But game number 3, we have Carlos Liren Rangers, a Sentinel 3L, a modified champion, a Highlander 738, and a Banshee 7S, going up against JP's clan Nutro Reavers, a Dragonfly C, a modified Orion 2C, a Tomahawk C, CBL version, and Flamer Elementals. 2 returning players, so I can't even default. As much as Carlo had a fun season last year, JP just has the experience behind him. So I think it's going to be JP's game, and I think it's going to be a 3-1.
I think this one is going down swinging. The Lyrans have an uphill battle, but it is going to be JP's game to lose. I think JP is going to have a 4-1 finish, probably if the Orion goes down.
I'm going to continue with my prediction that JP is going to take everything overall. I think he's going to take a 5-game streak right at the beginning. I think he's going to win, and I think it's going to be convincingly a 4-0. His lance is just monstrous.
Poor Carlo. Hope for head caps.
Yeah, he's got some heavy Gauss rifles. He can definitely put the hurt on him. JP is just going to be a monster this year.
Game number 4, Battle of the Capellan Offshoots. Both players are representing St. Ives. Jared's League of Robots with a Wraith TR1, an Orion 1K, a 733 Highlander, and a modified Devastator going up against Jeff and the Scions of Amaris. Mech-wise, he has a Swayback, the Hunchback 4P, modified Cataphract, Templar OC, and a Yuhang YH9G. Basically, both assaults are the same mech out of different factories.
Really? This is your stick, not my stick. Some St. Ives will win, and some St. Ives will lose, and yeah, old tropes aside, I have to pick a winner for this one. These
No
are...
ties.
What? No ties. No ties. Not yet. I gotta say, our defending champion, Mr. P, is probably the best player in League. Jared played clans last year and did it brilliantly. I am actually going to call for Jared to win it. I think Jeff's got a little bit of work on his lance to get it the way he likes it. I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-2 League of Robots win.
Another tough match to predict. You're right. Jared had fun with his lance last year playing clan, but I think Jeff's gonna take this one. He'll have a fight, and since we're not allowed to pick ties in the first week,
No, you can pick ties in the first week, just not this match.
You call whatever you want, Laura. Don't listen to us.
I never listen to you guys. Really? Nah, it's gonna be Jeff. I think it's gonna be a 4-3.
Okay, Lee, I think you're totally off the mark here. Jeff has the lance that he doesn't need to put any more points into. The Cataphract's already been fixed. The Templar OC, as you played last year, is pretty much perfect the way it is. The Yu-Hang is the same mech, just on a different chassis, so again, nothing needing to be modified there. And Hunchback 4P, while you can modify it, there's absolutely zero wrong with it straight out of the factory. So I'm kind of curious on what he's going to be spending his skill points on, because I don't see any modification happening to this lance. That being said, we're looking at probably a 4-2 win for the Scions of Amaris.
Game number 5. Todd and his clan wards Werewolves. They field a Huntsman A modified Marauder C, and a Direwolf H with, of course, those Flamer Elementals. They're up against Kale's St. Ives Pony Boys, the Steel Shod Shamble, fielding a Wolverine 7H, a Quick Draw 5K, a Devastator of some variant, and a modified Marauder 2 4A.
I do believe that's the 1D Devastator, the original.
So 2 out of 10, 2 large lasers. Okay.
So WWW versus SSS. I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm going to go with a 3-1 shambling win across the finish line.
I'll see your letters and go with that WTF, man. I think Todd's going to see his first win this season, and I think it's going to get him started good. Kale's got a bit of a learning curve with the way League plays, and Todd's going to have a lot of fun with the clanners. He's got some heavy lasers in those mechs. They're not going to be that effective yet until he starts throwing some skills in, but it's a dire wolf. Like, it's a monster. And that Marauder C still has the 2 large pulse lasers. I'm going to say it's going to be Ward's Werewolves, but it's not going to be the biggest scoring game. I think it's going to be 2-1.
Well, I voted for the other Todd, so I might as well vote for this Todd too. It's first week. It works. And I kind of like the Marauder C, so we're going to go with other Todd, and I'll agree with Lee. It'll be 2-1. Game number 6. Lee and the Dead Man's Hands flopping down some periphery mechs, a Hatchetman 6M, an Avatar Prime, a Banshee 3S, and a modified Marauder 2 4A. Going up against Chris and his Fed Sons, Paxton's Pathfinders, the ever-popular Phoenix Hawk 3PL, the Marauder 2R, a modified Cyclops, and a Gunslinger. Tough because Lee has the experience, but Chris is running with my favorite Phoenix Hawk. I'm voting for Chris. Sorry, Lee, but I think it's going to be a 3-2.
Betrayed in the first episode.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
I know. Here, I was going to cheer for you.
Go, go, Buffalo! Let's see some rack attack action and bring those dirty pirates down. I want to vote for the Pathfinders, but I'm also confident Lee will take home his first W in this game, probably in a 3-1 score.
First game of the season, I see a lot of back and forth between these two lances. The mech I'm actually, the 2 mechs I'm most worried about of Chris's is the Phoenix Hawk 3PL, really accurate and highly mobile, and that Gunslinger. Pair of Gauss rifles, you can't ignore them. They just
it's not mine, so it's going to keep its legs.
Exactly. It won't have that fall apart leg actuator. But I do actually think I'm going to win this one. I have a lot of firepower on my side of the battlefield. I am going to say it's going to be a 3-1 for me. I'm going to agree with you, Brett. But I'm going to have a heck of a time killing that Phoenix Hawk if I kill it at all. It may be his remaining mech.
Game number 7. Andre returns this year with the first Alliance Grenadiers. Can you guess which Lyran faction he represents? His units are a Sentinel 3KA, a Rifleman 6X, the Fafnir 5X, and a Modified Penetrator. He is up against Gary's Mercenary Red Sons Irregulars, dropping it like it's hot. The Night Sky 4S, Penetrator 4D, a Marauder 2 5A, and a Modified Mauler. You just don't see that many Maulers out. I'm banking on Gary's experience here, leading to a short and hard victory. He will have a great first game for Andre, though the final score is going to be 4-1 for the Red Suns. He's probably not holding anything back.
As the B-side returning champion, I could totally see Gary just absolutely charging in with his firepower. Andre has some work with his lance still. I know his Sentinel 3KA is not his final form. And though the Rifleman 6X, the Fafnir, and the Penetrator are really solid, there's nothing wrong with Gary's either. 2 Penetrators on either side of the battlefield. It's going to be tight, but Gary has a lot of experience and a lot of skill on his side. I'm going to say it's going to be the Red Suns Irregulars, and it's going to be a 4-2.
I am going to agree with both of you. Gary's going to come in guns ablazing this season, trying to get top spot again. Just one division higher. I remember Andre from last season. He had strong playing power. I don't think it's going to be quite as high as 4-2, but it'll be close. I'll go 3-2.
Game number 8. Brandon taunts his father with his fed son's Warthog's Revenge. Finally, no alliteration. Fielding an Enforcer 6H, a Thunderbolt NAIS, a Thug 11E, and a Marauder 3R. He faces up against Corey, returning with the Ansgar's Outlaws, this time rocking the clan toys. A Shadowcat H, a Modified Archer C, and a Jupiter, along with the standard elementals. I would love to see Brandon start off with a bang. He had a rough go of it last year with having that big break partway through the season and had a couple of games go to ties. I like this lance of his, but once again, Corey played really well last year. And now he's got clan toys. I'm not a fan of the Shadowcat H, it's not accurate enough. That Archer C with 2 Streak 15s, really strong. I've never really seen a Jupiter in play. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I think the Clanners are going to take this one only because I think Corey's going to be able to use his tech and range a little bit better. I am going to go with Corey, but it's going to be a 3-2. It's going to be tight, right down to the wire.
Pew pew, boom goes the mechs. There's so many things here that are going to have to crash and burn. I do think Corey will pull out a 3-2 win, though, when the time expires.
I'm not stealing your things, Brett, even though I'm reading them before you. I'm not stealing them. That's how I actually see the game going.
No, it's all good.
Boys and their toys. I am a big fan of the Thunderbolt Nace. I ran it in one of the previous seasons and loved it.
It's arguably the best mech on the Fed Suns list. That or the 3PL.
Yeah, I ran that one in the same lance as the Thunderbolt. They were a great pair, actually. I'm voting for Brandon, just strictly because he's taking the Thunderbolt Nace. No other reason. Girl's choice. Brandon, 2-1.
I mean, at least you're picking it because you know it's a good mech, not, ooh, it's pretty, I like that one.
Yeah, and Brandon whooped me last year. It's not that he doesn't have skill. Brandon's a great player. I just think Corey played a little bit better last year, and now he's also got clan toys.
Yeah, boys and their toys. Game number 9, John and the Clan Cobra Chickens flying the Free World's banner. He's got a Cicada 3G, a Tempest 3M, a Stalker 6M, and a modified Black Knight. Going up against Brett and his returning DCMS Ghost Legion, this year new and improved with C3. Oh, not a surprise, he's got a Wolverine. Running with the 8K. A quick draw C, a modified charger, 1A9, and a gunslinger mounting the C3 Master.
I want to say you're going to win this, Brett. I really do. But you brought a gunslinger to a gunfight. You know what this mech does with you. I think this is going to be tight. The Tempest 3M's a good mech. Stalker 6M's a good mech. That modified Black Knight, it's got the heat sinks to fire those 3 ER large lasers all day, every day, so he can actually just lay out weapons fire. I know what you're doing with the Charger and the Quick Draw and the Wolverine. They're spotters for those Gauss rifles. I think it's going to be a rough fight. I am going to say, and you're not going to like this, I see a 3-3 tie.
Dun dun dun!
And I'm calling this because, and it could totally go the other way if that gunslinger goes down early and you lose your network.
I almost don't want to predict this one.
It's a good fight. Like, there's some interesting comparisons going on here.
Well, go into detail for that. For the listeners.
Okay. Stalker M against the Charger. Those two actually stack up really close. The Tempest throwing Gauss rifles and a large pulse laser pair up against the Quick Draw quite well. The Wolverine and Cicada 3G, the Wolverine can't keep up, but the Cicada doesn't have the firepower with just 1 ER large laser. The Gunslinger very much outguns the Black Knight, but the Black Knight is a solid mech. So, Laura, you could pick either side and be very, very close to being right regardless. The C3 is the wild card in this. Brett's getting a range benefit early, even if he sits at medium range.
Yeah, that's dangerous. I hate going up against C3 and C3I networks.
John's not going to be able to sit back. He's going to either have to shut down the network or he's going to have to go and mix it up so that that bonus of range doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, Cobra Chickens are deadly up front and in your face. So, yeah, Brett's got a fight on his hands. He's gonna win. I think it's gonna be 3-2.
So, game 1, I think I'm going to end up laying down the hammer with that gunslinger. He has no way to turn off the C3 unless he is literally killing the gunslinger or making everything out of line of sight. And with a 5.85 Wolverine, a 5.85 Quick Draw, and a 5.85 Charger, I'm going to be at 7 hexes from turn 3, all the rest of the game laying those Gauss rifles down. I think this is going to be a 4-1 victory, and it's going to be a big part because there's no way to stop that C3 this early in the league.
He happens to not have ECM.
Right, he happens to not have. Other players do. And then week 2, we see Skillspin asking for 2.
Yeah, or we see
both on the Cicada.
Or he gets lucky and head caps you with the Gauss rifle from the Tempest.
Right. You're potentially true for a 3-3 tie if I lose the gunslinger to a head cap early.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's the C3 is the wild card. It changes everything.
Brett, you're game 10.
Yeah. Game number 10. Jay's returning Wendigo Night Stalkers with all new Capellan plasma technology. Modified Marshal, a Crusader 7L, a Thug 11E, and the biggest of the quads, Xanthos, versus James' 4th Taurian Protectorate. With a name like that, you know they come out of the periphery. Sporting a heavy PPC Hunchback, an Archer 4M, Marauder 9M2, and an awesome 9Q. So last season, Jay ran the Periphery Boys and had both the Marauder and the Awesome in his lance. We know that means he's super familiar with how his opponent's going to play. This is going to be a higher scoring game as well, though, and it's going to end up in a 3-2 Wendigo win.
Oh, you know I can't go against my boys, the Hamiltons. I just can't.
But Timmy!
I know, but it's the Hamiltons. They have some great mechs on this battlefield as well. I think that heavy PPC Hunchback is going to be a Killer's Corner mainstay. The awesome 9Q, real solid 4 PPCs throwing downfield. This is going to be a really good game. The plasma rifles are once again the wild card in this one, because if you get hammered with them, you're going to have problems. I don't know how the Xanthos plays. I don't know how good that is. I am going to call it for the 4th Tauren Protectorate. Go James. And I'm going to say it's going to be 3-2 as well. It's just going to go in their side instead of the Wendigos.
That awesome could have a real hard time taking a punch of plasma hits, though.
Yep.
It's not known to be heat efficient.
But it could also start hammering them with 2-3 PPCs per round, and it won't matter that you're going to be out of the game by the time you get to him.
Guess we'll have to see how he plays.
Yeah.
Of course, me with the tiebreaker, one you guys predict one of each. I'm like,
So go
yeah,
random.
out.
Pick a tie.
Flip a coin, heads or tails.
Yeah, just pick a tie game.
Well, I think I could. Oh, I don't know. Tails go with the Wendigos? Yeah, I think Jay's gonna take it. Can't really give a reason, although I do like plasma weapons.
Who doesn't like a little bit of fire in their life?
Planners that don't take the fire elementals?
So last year.
Yeah, this year everybody gets them.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna call it for Jay. I think it's gonna be a high score, but close. I'll go with 4-3.
Game number 11. Aaron has a very sloppy Ice Creamer's Lance. This year, melting all over your hand with some mercenary love. Oh my god, that's... Alright, fine, I'll read it. I have to say, everybody, when you see Aaron's logo, you will feel massively violated. Now, his Lance, it's hard to go wrong with what he's chosen. A Wolverine 7K, a Black Knight 6B, a Zeus 6S, and one of a multitude of modified Marauder 2s, this time the 5A. He's going up against Scott and his clanner Neon Grizzlies. As if the Neon Beatons wasn't bad enough, now we have Neon Bears too. Lacking a Grizzly, we are so disappointed. It does bring back Grumpy Bear though. A version of Grumpy Bear.
New and improved.
Yeah. A modified Ice Ferret and the ever-efficient Timberwolf S with some flaming elementals. It's really good to see a Timberwolf in. It's an epitome of clanners. A Kodiak and a Timberwolf in the same Lance, I think is going to make mincemeat of the Zeus and the Wolverine. However, Aaron is a top A-side player, and against that same thing, Scott's one of the Hamiltons. I can't go against the Hamiltons. This one is going to be a 4-3, and I think Aaron's going to get a little bit of a bit of a comeuppance. Go Scott. I think the Neon Grizzlies are going to get their first win.
Scott or Aaron. Both very strong players. And I beat the original Grumpy Bear. It was the first one to kill it last year. Kind of looking forward, hoping I see him again this year. Maybe Scott won't lose him. Sorry, Darren.
No, Darren was challenging him to go 6 games without losing him.
We'll see. I haven't looked at the schedule yet. I don't actually know who I face after game 1. But, in all honesty, serious, I think Aaron's actually going to take it. I kind of like the Ice Creamers. I might vote for them almost every week, depending on who they play.
Who doesn't like ice cream?
I just don't like it melting all over my hand. But Aaron's going to win 3-2.
I gotta go with the Wolverine 7K here. Good luck to the Creamers. Hopefully it's not over prematurely and they can stand the heat long enough for a 3-1 win.
Game number 12, the lights go out as Paul faces off once again on Game 1 against Darren and Hank's Handies. This season, neither of them are playing clans. Paul's Comstar force of a Griffin CS, a modified Cicada, which are networked together, with an Atlas 7D and a Black Knight 6B filling out the lens. Darren's mercenaries have a Craptastic Firestarter C, which is an Omni mech, a Thunderbolt 9 SE, a Gunslinger, and a Banshee 3S.
See, Lee, you're not the only one.
I know Darren's a fairly strong player. I kind of like Paul as a player. He's fun and just easygoing. And starting the season off with a win for Paul would be fantastic. So I think we're gonna go with Paul. But 3-1.
Paul has a game plan. He has a plan. He mentioned it to me. I believe him. Paul has a plan.
Well, yeah, I called him out being I can't see what your plan is. I hope you have one. And he said I do.
That being said, I finally get to use it.
Jeez.
I don't see that plan. I haven't got the foggiest idea what it is. Cicada linked together to a Griffin CS, that's great, but his assault mech isn't in the network, and neither is his Black Knight 6B. So his bigger hitter mechs aren't linked in. They're obviously going to have to be the ones that go up front, because they're going to have to close. That Firestarter C is not a terrible mech. I don't know quite what you're talking about, Brett, but that's okay. You're allowed your opinion.
I think it's better than Darren's giving it credit for. Darren thinks it's crappy.
Yeah, well, he probably could have taken a cheaper mech then. The Banshee 3S is actually the weakest mech out of the four. Not because it's a weak mech, but because it's slow and it doesn't have case. And a Gunslinger's got a pair of Gauss rifles, and a Thunderbolt is always tough, especially when you're looking at the higher variants. I am going to say Paul's plan is going to confuse the hell out of Darren.
What plan?
Yeah, it's chaos. His plan is chaos. It always is. I am going to say Paul is going to win because nobody's going to see it coming. And it's going to be a 3-2.
So everybody advanced laterally 3 hexes, then forward?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the plan, but I'm not saying he doesn't have. He says he has one. I'm running with the man. He knows Battletech. He's not like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he's not new. He's been around for decades. But go deep, D, and perhaps the Handies can have a happy ending after all. I do predict this to be a 2-1 finish, though. These players played to a 1-0 finish last year in Game 1. Game number 13. Jeff keeps the same stable, Riston's Rogues, flying the St. Ives flag this season, representing with a Wraith TR1, a Grasshopper 5N, the awesome 8Q, and a modified Marauder 2 4A. His game day 1 opponent is Matt and Cat's Nightingale Cavalry, with some Warden Clan goodness. We see another modified Ice Ferret. Cat's running the Rifleman 2C4 this year, clearly, and a Blood Asp E. Gotta go with the Rogues on this one, though. Probably to a 4-1 finish, as they just ride right over the cavalry.
Oh, wow. You're just totally besmirching Matt's skill level on this.
I may not have a whole lot of opportunity to keep doing that, so I gotta get my shots in early when I can.
OG just knows the game. It's inside and out. He knows League from the beginning. He understands every in and out of the game and its skills and its mechs. Matt is a solid tactician, solid player. He's got an uphill battle in this game. But the Rifleman 2C4 is 2 large pulse lasers and a pair of ATM-9s. It is just right off the bat a solid mech and extremely accurate. I don't know the Blood Asp. Don't know the Blood Asp at all. Didn't like it when I saw the first mini come out. Never bothered learning much about it.
Got a couple of big guns and some ATM 3s.
Okay, yeah. And it's got speed with the Ice Ferret. The Wraith Tier 1 is very accurate. The Awesome Q is a classic. And the modifications to the Marauder 2-4A were really, really solid. I am actually going to say OG loses. I think that Rifleman 2C is going to end up being a monster mech for Cat, especially if he throws the right skills on it.
Oh, no questions asked. That Rifleman is going to be his anchor all season long.
Yeah. I think it's going to be 3-2. It all depends on what goes down and what happens. It also depends on if Matt's got a good understanding of how elementals work.
Yeah, I hate elementals. I don't like this game.
Wow.
I actually can't choose a winner for this one.
Screw you guys, I'm taking my vote and I'm going home.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Tie game. 2-2.
There's going to be some serious defense played for it to be 2-2. But it could. Absolutely could. Game number 14. Cal comes down the lines with the Comstar force, and it is ready to play. The collection agency comes a call-in, marching with a Kintaro 21, an Exterminator 4D, Highlanders 736, of which there are a lot of Highlanders this year, and a modified Battlemaster. He will be facing off against one of our new players, Chris B, the Elk Riders. I'm never going to be able to pronounce the proper name, Chris, so just get used to being called the Elk Riders. It's a mercenary force entering with a modified Highlander, also fielding a Blackjack BJ2, an actual great mech. It requires the right play, but it is really good. A Catapult C4C and a Grasshopper 5J.
Week 1, no ECM, and facing off against a C3 network will be a pretty tough road to hoe for the Elk, with a big learning curve. The game may be a little lower scoring, but I'm going to say 2-0 for the collection agency as they get the game easing in, trying to teach somebody new the ropes.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game as well. I just think it's going to be largely because Cal has to figure out how to run his lance as well. Right? The C3 and C3I are not easy to use. They seem simple, but they aren't. Even without ECM, I think that Chris is going to put up a decent fight. I think it's going to be a 3-1 for the collection agency, because I think he's going to end up having to sacrifice a mech for the final kill.
Cal's still fairly new too. He's only done one season.
Oh, I know. I agree.
And he had some scheduling issues last year too.
Yeah.
International vacations, who needs those?
Well, hopefully he actually makes it to playoffs this year. Okay, I can't call a tie 2 games in a row. That's just a cop-out, for sure. I think I'm going to go with Cal on this one. I was looking at the Highlander 736 actually, and it's a pretty decent mech.
It's the one that Alexander ran when he took B-side with Comstar.
Yeah. Yeah. So hey, if Alex can do it, Cal can do it.
Oh, way to throw the kid under the bus.
Yeah, I was going to say, that doesn't sound like a glowing report for your son there.
Well, the unfortunate child gets to... he's my match. So, I'll throw him under the bus all I want.
Yeah, but you're getting ahead of yourself.
I know. It is the next blurb. I think Cal's gonna take the game. It'll be 2-1. Game number 15. Time to discipline the offspring. Oh yeah, Brett definitely writes these scripts. I face off against Alexander. My Thumper's Revenge will bring the heat with some compelling plasma tough love. A mention spouting 2 plasma, Catapult C6, a Crusader 7L, and a Longbow OW. Alexander's Wolfpack, the Fed Sun's Force with a Phoenix Hawk 3PL, a Thunderbolt Nace, a Night Star 9J, and a Rack Modified Centurion to round out his force. I've run with the Phoenix Hawk and the Thunderbolt, as I said before, in the same lance. They are a tough pair, and if Alex can figure out how they work together, he's going to be a tough match. But I don't vote against myself, so I'm going to win, and it's going to be 3-2.
I'm going to have to call this as a very close fight. Laura's spouting early on in the season 4 plasma rifles. The Crusader 7L's packing a couple of LRM-15s.
And stealth armor, I think.
And stealth armor. And the longbow has got 2 LRM-20s and 2 LRM-5s. So she's got long range firepower and something that's going to punish you if she even gets a grazing hit. A single plasma rifle and a good dice roll on the heat thing, and everything of Alexander's plans go out the window if his mechs start overheating. Thunderbolt, Night Star, and the Rack Modified Centurion are pretty decently stayed. The biggest problem, though, is if the Phoenix Hawk gets hit with plasma rifles, it doesn't have the armor to take a lot of them, and it can't handle the heat. Right? It's the most heat inefficient mech out of the 3 that we've mentioned so far. And then you have that Rack Modified Centurion. Great mech. I think that one's actually going to play out really well for him, except for the fact it's got nothing other than the Rack. If the Rack isn't effective, it's pretty much a useless mech. An LRM-10 and a medium laser isn't going to win many.
It's an LRM-10 and 2 medium pulse lasers.
I'm not saying Alex isn't going to play well. He's a B-side champion. There's nothing to say that Alex isn't going to just run rampant with this lance. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a 2-1 as both players end up trying to feel each other out on how to beat each other without hurting the other person's feelings. And that's going to slow the game down. So it's going to be 3-1 for... I think you're going to have fun with the plasma. I'm going to go with Thumper's Revenge.
Well, if the child would ever listen to our podcast, I would probably vote for him. But as it is, I'm going to vote for a 2-2 tie game.
You coward.
Yup.
Game number 16. Last but not least, Devon's Calmstar Black Wake. A Vulcan 6C, a Shootist 9C, a Crockett, and a Thug 12E make for a good network. Versus Chris M's Psychotic Weasels from the Free World League. Rocking some rare mechs, a quad, the Scorpion 10, a Rifleman 7M, and here comes the rarity, a modified Albatross 4U, and a Grand Titan 11M. Just a couple of mechs that you don't see too often, so they may throw a little bit of surprise down range. Chris had Comstar last year, so he should know what to do to bring it down. This isn't Devon's first rodeo either, though. I think this might end up being a Black Wake wake-up call with a 3-2 Comstar win for Chris.
I've made promises and promises that I would stop calling Chris's games to win, but I really like his lance. Devon's Black Wake impressed the hell out of me when I was going over it. Vulcan 6C, Shootist 9C, Crockett, and Thug all tied into the network. This lance is ready to go without a single change. I think that's why he didn't bother changing anything. The modified Albatross just made it safer. It's going to live longer. It's going to last. The Albatross and the Grand Titan are really hard to read. They have all range brackets covered and pretty powerful. It's 2 mechs that require knowing your firing ticks, what weapons you fire at what ranges. If Chris can hold on to that solid, he's going to have a lot of success with that. I am going to go with Devon's, though, his Comstar Black Wake. If he plays that properly, he is going to win. It's going to be a 3-1.
I don't know. House Psychotic Weasel? Chris comes up with some of the coolest names.
Oh, I love the name. It's my. There's been some great ones this year. Black Wake, Psychotic Weasels, the Ice Creamers. Like, come on, those are great.
Hank's Handies, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hard to beat the hands. And she's left with no words.
Yeah. I'm left with no words about this match. I think I'm gonna go with the Psychotic Weasels, though. Sorry, Chris.
When in doubt, vote Psychotic.
I didn't make a promise not to vote for your Lances to win, so you're gonna get as much as my vote as I can give you. And you guys, I think he's gonna get 4 mechs down. So I go with Chris on a 4-2.
Full sweep. Full sweep. What do they say when they're sweeping? Harder, harder, harder?
Well, it depends on who you're watching.
Pull my hair. Oh, sorry, wrong.
I was going towards curling, Lee. I don't know where you were going.
And I wasn't talking about any of the English speaking. Some of the foreign languages are. And then there's Lee.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what harder, harder, harder sounds like in like Swedish or Russian.
I have noticed that there seems to be mechs in each faction that everybody likes to use and put together. The variants all end in C. So you have 3 of them, they're like the 7C, the 8C, the 2C. Like there's at least 3 Lances out there that have that theme going with their mechs.
Would you like me to elaborate on that for you?
Yeah, because...
Yeah, the C designation that you're noticing, you're probably thinking about the Comstar Lances, my Lance, and that usually denotes that it's some sort of a C3 network or it's a C network going on there. So like the Vulcan 6C with Devon's Lance there, Cal's Lance with the Cs, that's all designating that they're a variant that is a networked mech.
Same thing with the letters. If you take a look at Chris's Psychotic Weasels, he's got the Rifleman 7M and the Grand Titan 11M. That's because they're quite often linked to the house that they are linked to. That would be for the Merrics, because they're Free Worlds League. You'll see more Ks in the Kuritas, Ls in the Ligaos.
That makes sense.
They kind of gave up on it after about 30-50. They started throwing the letters kind of around to whatever, but that used to be the way to be able to tell whose faction the mech was linked to.
More so after about 30-70.
Yeah.
But it's a good solid pickup and something that shows little things that you're noticing.
Yeah, who says you can't learn something new every day?
Well, we're getting to the end of the show, folks, and I just want to mention some things that I've also noticed. I've noticed a lot of mechs that used to be like the big trends, the Night Stars, Wraiths. There are a few of them are being represented here, but not nearly on the numbers we used to. We're seeing a lot more variety in the mechs, or people are choosing a little bit more. Everyone loves Highlanders. Everyone likes Marauder 2s. We have a ton of them in League this year. Fantastic, and a lot of them are different variants. A lot of different Highlander variants, which is kind of neat. I'm looking forward to see how these work out, and I'm really interested to see when we start doing the Killer's Corner, and we'll start posting those on the podcast as well, so you guys can see how people are moving up and down that leaderboard to see how things are going. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to watch.
Okay, so like 3 Wraiths, 3 Wolverines. I think it is 6 Marauder 2s and 4 Marauders. And then I think we're also looking at like 3 Gunslingers, and the Highlander is the next mech that comes in with a whole bunch of representation. However, the big thing that I noticed is we do have trends. It seems like people talk and they're like, oh yeah, that mech's really good, I'm going to run it this year. Like last year, 4 out of our 5 mercenaries ran a Sad Cat. This year, not a single one of them did, and I'm so ecstatic about that. Screw you, Sadcat. Stay in your place.
It's a good mech. People had trouble using it, that's all.
No, there's one variant that's halfway decent.
No, there's 3 variants that are halfway decent, thank you. The 2B, that gets rid of the ER large lasers and go down to large lasers, way superior than the 1A.
Or you could just do what the Hamilton did and bring an actual Mad Cat.
They're Intersphere versus clans, you can't do it. The Rack 5 and the large pulse laser, also a very good variant of the Rakshusa. And the one that everybody brought last year, the 2 snub-nosed PPCs and the 2 MML7s, is a fantastic mech. You cannot bitch about... If you saw a Marauder with that loadout, you'd be like, hey, that's a pretty good mech. You're just not hating on it because it's a piss-poor
It's a cheap knockoff.
Mad Cat. It's a piss-poor Mad Cat. It's not a piss-poor mech. It's a piss-poor Mad Cat.
Just like I don't really like the Avatar for the same reason. They're solid, they're okay, but it's a knockoff.
Yeah, and a piss-poor knockoff of the clan mech. You can't compare. They're not even close. You have to compare it to its contemporaries like Maelstrom. The 75-ton Intersphere mechs that are moving 5.8 or 5.85. Those are the ones you have to compare it to.
I think I'd still take a Falconer over that.
Okay, right?
But it's got a
Dragonfire.
massive BV on it.
Those are the ones you have to compare it to. If it would stand up to the Falconer, the Dragonfire, and the Maelstrom, then you've got a fair comparison. You cannot compare it to a Mad Cat. It's just not the same. Not even close.
But people play it like it is.
Mm-hmm. And they lose the mech. They take a whole bunch of plasma rifle shots and explode.
Right, Corey?
Ha, Aaron, we didn't call you out this time.
That's because AA Ron hasn't done anything worthy yet. Any final thoughts there, Laura?
No.
Ring that bell, hit the notifications, and like and subscribe.
We'll catch you all next time. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye!